Herzlich willkommen, meine Damen und Herren. Es freut mich sehr, Sie heute Abend hier im Amerikahaus begrüßen zu dürfen und Sie an den Computerendgeräten begrüßen zu dürfen zu dem YouTube-Stream für unsere heutige Veranstaltung mit Sheila Beladinejad. Ich hoffe, ich habe den Namen richtig ausgesprochen. Es ist uns eine Ehre, Sie begrüßen zu dürfen. Wunderbar, dass Sie da sind. Es freut uns, dass wir endlich auch wieder Publikum bei uns im Haus haben dürfen. Ich glaube, es gibt noch einen Lerneffekt. Die Leute müssen erst wieder sich daran gewöhnen, dass es möglich ist, nach draußen zu gehen, dass man auch Veranstaltungen besuchen kann. Aber ich bedanke mich recht herzlich, dass Sie alle da sind. Es wird mit Sicherheit ein wunderbarer Event und ich darf Ihnen jetzt schon mal viel Spaß dabei wünschen. Es freut mich auch wirklich sehr, dass dieses Thema hier bei uns im Amerikahaus verankert wird, weil es einfach ein sehr wichtiges Thema ist, das uns auch im Herbst übrigens noch begleiten wird. Es geht um Diversity, um Frauen in der Technik und die Bedeutung, die dieses Thema hat, ist nicht zu unterschätzen. Und es freut mich, dass wir dieses Thema sozusagen heute hier mit der deutsch-kanadischen Gesellschaft starten dürfen. Vielen Dank, dass Sie auf uns zugekommen sind. Ich möchte noch ein paar kleine technische Hinweise an Sie richten. Wenn Sie nach der Veranstaltung den Saal verlassen, bitte ich Sie, diese Türen zu benutzen. Die Türen, wenn Sie auf die Bühne gucken, die links von Ihnen sind. Sie finden dann auch gleich einen kleinen Empfang, an dem Sie noch ein Weinchen trinken können, ein bisschen ins Gespräch kommen können. Ich darf Sie aber daran erinnern, dass wir noch immer unter Corona-Bedingungen arbeiten müssen. Das heißt, auch hier gilt Abstand halten, Maske nur abnehmen, wenn Sie trinken oder etwas zu sich nehmen und natürlich die allgemeinen Corona-Regeln einhalten. Also es gelten dieselben Regeln wie im Gastrobetrieb, das kennen Sie ja vielleicht jetzt schon. Ansonsten darf ich noch Sie, die Sie den Live-YouTube-Stream verfolgen, darauf hinweisen, dass Sie Fragen stellen können. Sie können diese Fragen im Chat stellen. Sie werden dann hier vorgelesen und an unsere Expertin, an Sheila Beladinejad, direkt gerichtet. Jetzt darf ich Ihnen ganz viel Spaß bei der Veranstaltung wünschen und übergebe an Herrn Schmitz von der Deutsch-Kanadischen Gesellschaft. Viel Spaß!
Vielen Dank, Herr Faltermeier. Liebe Kanada-Freundinnen und Kanada-Freunde, ich begrüße Sie auch ganz herzlich zu unserer heutigen Veranstaltung im Namen der Deutsch-Kanadischen Gesellschaft. Und ich freue mich sehr, dass Sie trotz des schönen Wetters den Weg zu uns gefunden haben, wenn wir auch noch eine relativ kleine Gruppe sind heute Abend. Aber es ist ein erster Anfang und ich heiße Sie wirklich ganz herzlich willkommen. Für uns ist dies ein ganz besonderer Event. Es ist die erste Veranstaltung, erste Präsenzveranstaltung der DKG hier in München nach den Corona-Beschränkungen, obwohl wir ja noch in vielen Dingen, Herr Faltermeier hat es gerade gesagt, ja eingeschränkt sind. Aber trotzdem, wir können zumindest wieder zusammenkommen und eine Präsenzveranstaltung durchführen. Und es ist einfach schön, Sie alle nach so langer Zeit wieder einmal persönlich zu sehen. Und wir möchten darauf nach dem Vortrag von Sheila Beladinejad noch hier im Garten mit Ihnen anstoßen. Auch das hatte Herr Faltermeier schon kurz anklingen lassen. Und darauf freuen wir uns natürlich auch ganz besonders. Gleichzeitig ist es auch unsere erste Veranstaltung, die simultan überall auf YouTube verfolgt werden kann. Daher freut es mich natürlich auch ganz besonders, auch die Teilnehmer am PC herzlich begrüßen zu können. Und ja, ich freue mich einfach, dass Sie mit dabei sind und wünsche auch Ihnen einen interessanten Vortrag und beteiligen Sie sich bitte rege an der Diskussion hinterher. Weiter ist es für uns auch die erste Veranstaltung hier im Amerikahaus am Karolinenplatz hier in München nach einer sehr aufwendigen, aber sehr erfolgreichen Renovierung. Also ich finde jedenfalls, es ist ganz toll geworden. Wenn Sie hier in München leben und heute Abend nicht kommen können, dann schauen Sie gerne vorbei, auch Besucher aus anderen Teilen Deutschlands und der Welt. Wenn Sie Gelegenheit haben, hier vorbeizuschauen, das lohnt sich. Wir finden hier jetzt jedenfalls allerbeste Voraussetzungen für Veranstaltungen aller Art. Am 15. September werden wir zum Beispiel in diesem Saal hier ein Konzert des kanadischen Singer und Songwriters Morgan Finley durchführen. auf das wir uns schon alle sehr freuen. Ich darf Sie bitten, sich diesen Termin schon einmal vorzumerken. Dabei gehe ich selbstverständlich davon aus, dass die Pandemieentwicklung so sein wird, dass wir dann auch hier die Veranstaltung durchführen dürfen. Bei dieser Gelegenheit möchte ich mich auch ganz herzlich bei dem Team des Amerikahauses für die hervorragende Zusammenarbeit und die tolle Unterstützung bedanken, die wir hier nun schon seit vielen Jahren immer wieder erfahren. Und ohne Nina Müller, ohne Joanna King, Markus Faltermeier und auch Dominik Rabe wäre das alles nicht möglich. Also auch an Sie ganz, ganz herzlichen Dank. Die Veranstaltung ist aber auch wegen unserer Referentin Sheila Beladinejad und ihres Themas Accelerating Women in AI and Robotics herausragend. Künstliche Intelligenz und Robotics gehören in diesen Zeiten weltweit zu den Themen dieser Zeit. Und gerade die Universitäten und viele Start-up-Unternehmen in Ontario, aber auch in Quebec, haben auf diesen Gebieten seit langem eine Führungsrolle gespielt und spielen das immer noch. Auch das Thema der stärkeren Einbindung von Frauen in Führungspositionen der Wissenschaft, der Politik und im Geschäftsleben wird in Kanada seit vielen Jahren sehr erfolgreich und sehr konsequent vorangetrieben. Ich erinnere nur daran, wie wichtig es für Premierminister Trudeau war, Schlüsselressorts seines Kabinetts mit Frauen zu besetzen. Wir freuen uns sehr, dass wir für dieses Zukunftsthema mit Sheila Beladinejad eine ausgewiesene Expertin als Referentin gewinnen konnten. Frau Beladinejad ist Kanadierin mit iranischen Wurzeln. Sie hat über 20 Jahre Erfahrung im Software-Engineering mit Expertise in der Bewertung von Lösungen durch künstliche Intelligenz. Und ihr Unternehmen mit dem wunderschönen Namen O Canada Tech bietet in Kanada und Deutschland Beratungsleistungen in diesem Bereich an. Seit über einem Jahr engagiert sie sich nun ehrenamtlich in der Bewegung Women in AI und sie hat erst kürzlich mit großer Unterstützung aus Wissenschaft und Wirtschaft den gemeinnützigen Verein Women in AI and Robotics Germany e.V. gegründet. Es ist ihr Ziel, die geschlechtsspezifische Lücke in künstlicher Intelligenz und Robotik zu schließen und die Fähigkeiten von Frauen durch Mentoring, Bildung und Accelerator-Programme gerade in diesem Bereich besser zu nutzen und einzusetzen. Denn wir können es uns gar nicht leisten, so ihr Ansatz, das Potenzial von Frauen weiterhin so sträflich zu vernachlässigen, wie wir das in der Vergangenheit getan haben. Ich danke Frau Beladinejad sehr, dass sie heute Zeit für uns gefunden hat. Sie hat morgen nämlich eine größere Kick-Off-Veranstaltung für die neue Zusammenarbeit mit dem Deutschen Zentrum für Künstliche Intelligenz. Das ist also eine sehr interessante und wichtige Veranstaltung. Also ganz herzlichen Dank, Sheila. Bevor ich nun das Wort an Frau Beladinejad übergebe, möchte ich noch einmal kurz an unser Konzert mit Morgan Finlay am 15. September erinnern. Und wir hoffen auch, dass wir am 11. Oktober wieder unser Canadian Thanksgiving Dinner im Moosacher Pellkofenschlössel durchführen können. Hinweisen möchte ich abschließend auf das kanadische Wochenende der DKG, das wir vom 26. bis 28. November in Hannover durchführen werden. Ich denke, dies wird ein größeres Fest werden, weil die DKG in diesem Jahr 70 Jahre alt wird. Dies als Ausblick auf unsere zukünftigen Veranstaltungen. Doch nun übergebe ich das Wort an unsere Referentin Sheila Beladinejad. Sheila, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much, Georg, for the warm welcome, and to the DKG for inviting me for this talk here today. And thank you so much for the amerikahaus for helping us in facilitating this wonderful event. I really am overjoyed that the first event that I'm going to after the pandemic is here with you, and I feel honored for the invitation. So thank you so much. So before I get started and get into the topic of the day, which I'm sure that many of you are interested about, I'd like to share a story with you. So as Georg already mentioned, I'm Canadian, but I have also lived for many years in Seattle. And so one day with my 2 children, we went out for dinner in Seattle. And we were in a city called Kirkland, where one of the offices of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is located. And so we went, to get seated, and they put us in a nice balcony with a great view and everything. And as soon as we sat down, within a couple of minutes, I noticed that Bill and Melinda Gates came and sat right next to us. Now, here I am, a geek, been in technology for so many years. I was just so excited. I was, beyond myself that, oh, look, this is Bill and Melinda Gates. I knew many of my colleagues who had been living and working in Seattle for many years, and they never had an opportunity to meet them. So I was very excited, but I was very, shy to go up to them, to talk to them, or get a picture or something. So I'm sitting there, my son is sitting right across from me, and I tell him, honey, this is Bill Gates. Can you go and get a photo with him? And he goes, my son speaks really loud, and he goes, Bill Gates? Who's that? I don't know him. And I'm like, come on, honey, be quiet. Now, he was sitting within an arm's length of me. And so he could hear our conversation. And so my son says, who is he? Is he a hockey player? Being a Canadian kid, and into hockey and everything. He goes, but is he famous? And I said, of course he's famous. He's one of the most powerful men in the world. And, well, if he's not a hockey player, he doesn't count. Is he as big as Obama? And at this point, Bill and Melinda were laughing out loud. They were with another couple. Those 2 were also laughing and thought it was hilarious that we were having this conversation, even though I was trying to, keep quiet and everything, but they could clearly hear us, and that was quite funny. So I finally convinced my son and my daughter to get up and go take a picture. And Melinda was the orchestrator of this, photo opportunity. She said, oh, why don't you come and take the picture from this angle? And Bill, why don't you put your arms around the kids? Be a little bit more friendly. And, things like that. And I was just so starstruck, and, my hands were just shaking, and I was so excited. I was not thinking clearly. I don't know what I even said to her. She is, one of my role models. I admire her very much. I think the only thing I managed to tell her was like, I follow you, which I meant like I follow her on, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn and whatnot, and that was not a very intelligent thing to say. But the essence of this story is unconscious bias. After this, meetup was, coming to encounter Bill and Melinda, I kept thinking to myself, why did I not mention Melinda to my children? She, has done incredible things for women, for fighting poverty, for many, many, things, and her philanthropy. Why is it called Bill and Melinda Gates and not Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation? So I kind of thought to myself, why was that? And why didn't I ask the kids to take a picture with her? She is as important as Bill. And in that spur of the moment, I realized that even I have this unconscious bias. And, these are things that we have all been conditioned with in society. And whether we think of it consciously or unconsciously, that, we perhaps think that a man's effort is more important. So this got me, thinking to myself, why is that the case, and what can we do about it, and so on. So I thought this story was an appropriate one to bring up the bias that we sometimes have. Here's an experiment. In Google, if you go and search, and I know many of you may go and experiment it right now, if you go and search the word CEO, the pictures that you see are mostly men. You go and search the word executive, the same goes here. Startup founder, I don't see any woman here at all. Oh, there's only one there, okay. So I think you get the message that, the number of women in these leadership and technical positions are not enough, and certainly not equal. To the point that it is even hard to find correct statistics of, how many women are there in technology, because the data is not even being gathered in some places. So what do we mean by gender disparity? Women are underrepresented in, the gathering of the data, as I mentioned. They are typically underpaid, not paid for domestic labor. Look at this pandemic. They're the ones that have been mostly impacted. And why does this relate to technology? Well, every aspect of life, women have not been considered equally, whether it's equal pay, whether it's, access to education and so forth. It needs to be a well-rounded equality for us to have women progress and get into technology, whether it's AI, robotics, or what have you. If they don't have the necessities and the foundation in society to get to that point, then we don't have a story. So according to the World Economic Forum, we are about 100 years away from true gender equality. And that is really sad. But there are many organizations and many people, as I have encountered, who want to join forces and help make a change. You may have heard that there are biases in AI tools. For example, Amazon has a recruiting tool, and they realized that the recruiting tool was more conditioned to hiring men because of the words that they were using. They were more masculine. So the people applying for those jobs were mostly men. You may have also heard in the news that software that does facial recognition, they typically cannot identify women correctly, or if they have a different color of skin, that those software do not function correctly either. There are all sorts of other issues related to accessibility. Smartphones. With every new release, they keep getting bigger and bigger. They don't fit in my hand anymore. I don't know about you guys, but so in many aspects of life, from the designs of the cities, if women are the ones who are the caregivers, they're the ones who do the shopping. Look at how we are structured, going up and down the stairs in the metro. Imagine doing that with a pram and bags of grocery shopping in your hand. So these are things that have not been taken into consideration, and we need to look at those things more carefully going forward. So diversity and inclusion in technology and in all aspects of life is a critical problem. So let's talk about artificial intelligence and how does all of this relate to AI. AI is actually something that is multidisciplinary, and it has many definitions. But I chose the one from the Oxford Dictionary that explains that AI is the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence, such as speech recognition, decision-making, and so forth. I guess many of you have experienced shopping at sites like Amazon and so forth, and you buy something and you get a recommendation that, oh, people like you who bought this also bought that and that. So that all is coming from AI. why is AI so big? Is it just a buzzword? Is it just, flavor of the month or the year or whatnot? Is it a hype? Well, it's not a hype. It's here to stay. It's not going away. And why it's now being discussed more and more, because we have more computing power. Today, what we all have in our smartphones is stronger and has more capacity than what the mainframes had, many years ago. So there's more computing power, there's more data. Everybody likes to collect data. Now, what they want to do with this data, God knows, but all the businesses and all the governments and everybody wants to collect more and more data. And it's possible to do so cheaply. So that's another reason why. And there are modern techniques now for object recognition, speak recognition, natural language processing, and so forth to translate languages from one to another and so forth. So these are the contributors why AI is a topic that is being discussed a lot these days. What are the challenges of AI? So we need the solutions to be explainable. And a lot of times it's not. There are legal aspects of AI solutions, ethical aspects of it, that we need to be mindful of. And that's one of the challenges. And there's also, biases, human biases in the way that they build these algorithms. Have they taken for example, the society as a whole into consideration, the proportion? If you're building a solution for a community that has, let's say 30% people from Asia, 20% from, North America, 10% from Africa, are you taking each one of those ethnicities into consideration in the solutions that you're building? And if not, how is that going to serve everybody? So here's some statistics. According to LinkedIn, 22% of the global workforce that is working in AI is female. 12% of leading machine learning researchers are female, and less than 10% of entrepreneurs in AI in Germany and EU are female. Same goes for researchers at Facebook and Google, 5% and 10% respectively. So as you can see, the statistics are low, and interestingly, the numbers are not even consistent from one source to another, so there isn't enough attention that is being paid to get accurate statistics on this topic. So, and the lack of diversity in AI, could cause in solutions that could not be beneficial for everyone. And, society as a whole will suffer as a result of that, and not just women. So, what can we do about this disparity in artificial intelligence? What measures can we take to change that? We could remove the barriers to entry, and we talked about this unconscious bias, even in toys. I still see that, if you go to a shop, you could see toys that are for boys and toys that are for girls. Well, if they're not playing with these toys with their genitals, the toys is for everybody, right? So, and this unconscious bias, is something that even my daughter, she's been exposed to all of these talks and discussions in the communities and all of these issues. She's very motivated. She is the top of her class and so on. She wants to get into engineering. But even someone like her, when I asked her, why don't you participate in math or physics as much as you should? Because apparently, participating in the class is very much encouraged here in Germany. She said, well, I don't want the boys to think that I'm really geeky and not like me. So, what can we do about that, right? So let's have these discussions and be more mindful of that and educate one another. So another thing we could do is to boost confidence. We all, including myself, can sometimes, have this imposter syndrome. I think we as women are perfectionists. If we don't know a topic, 100%, if we're not 100% sure about knowing a topic, we will never raise our hand. But, I've worked with a lot of men as well, and if they're 60, 70% sure that they know it, they will raise their hand and ask a question or, try to engage in discussions and so on. So we need to work on boosting the confidence of women to be more engaged. And in the next slides, I will give some suggestions on how we could do that. And of course, the issue of pay gap is something that needs to be addressed as well if we want to encourage more women to get into these areas. So women need to be encouraged on all levels to get into these technical fields. Now, who should support these types of initiatives and take action on doing something about reducing this gender gap? Everyone. Right? I think we all have, responsibility to take some actions, and I feel blessed that I have experienced, people approaching me, whether it's been individuals, organizations, or nonprofits and whatnot, wanting to join forces and do something good together. So we all have some responsibility, and it shouldn't be lying, necessarily on women's shoulders to take some action. I heard someone once say, oh, well, you need to educate your sons more, but it's, I think everybody should take some actions to educate themselves better so we can have a more balanced society. Now we come to the topic of women in AI and robotics. So Women in AI and Robotics was formed back in February of this year, and we initially, started as a small team of 50, and within a few months grew exponentially. We're now over 600 members strong. We have chapters in Berlin, Munich, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, we just recently launched, Bremen, and pretty soon Hamburg and Düsseldorf as well. So who are we and what is our mission? We are a nonprofit association who are dedicated to the advancement of women in artificial intelligence and robotics. We hope and we take action on reducing the gender gap in this area by increasing the representation of women through partnership, education, hackathons, and so on. We have many great role models in our communities. We are very much community-driven, meaning that, in each of these cities and locations, we like to have a hub, somewhere where women can go to and be confident that there are others who would support them if they need to know, resources. If you go online, if you're a developer like I was back in the day, and you go online and you have a technical question, there are many, many forums out there. But if you go and look, 95% of those in the forum are men. So it may feel intimidating for some women to go into that environment and ask those questions. There could be some people who are interested in pursuing something in AI or robotics. They don't know where to start, how to approach it, where do they stand, their level, and so on. Given their background and so forth. So we have a community of other women who've been there and done that, and they are researchers, they are from the industry, so we have a combination of the academic world and the industry in our communities, and we hope to be building more and more communities in all geographical locations so that we can provide women this environment and this group that they can go to better grow and get engaged on these topics. And this reminds me, actually, Statistics Canada has a report that shows that the number of women getting into the topic of technical topics from an educational perspective is in fact going up a little, but it is not proportional to the number of women who get into the workforce in these areas, which goes back to why is that? So we need to, change the conditions for women when they are the primary caregivers of children and we don't give fathers, paternity leave and things like that. Well, then they have other responsibilities on their shoulders which may prevent them. So there are many reasons why, but perhaps we should take a closer look at that and see what we can do to support them better so they can go into these directions. And I just mentioned that we have various initiatives that everything, we started in 2021. We have a mentorship platform where we are providing women who want to become entrepreneurs in a topic of AI, the possibility to have a mentor, and we're connecting them with people in the industry who have volunteered to become their mentors. We have an education program where we are building a platform where it's like a marketplace where women can educate, other women in their communities and do knowledge sharing and transfer. And the favorite one is the Accelerator EU program that we conducted this from February to May, and we will have a second round of that starting in the fall as well. This is a program where we will provide women who have a strong business idea, the technical tools, the knowledge, the foundational skills that they need to do something, get to their MVP stage or beyond. So this is an intensive program to help women, give them a boost. If they have a business idea that is solid, we can help them to get further. And how do I bring all of this together? The good news is that, as I mentioned earlier, there is a lot of interest in doing something, and I'm a strong believer that we can do great things when we join forces together. I think the audience of this talk, if they are from the amerikahaus or the DKG already, are well familiar of the possibilities and the opportunities that are created by having this intercultural exchanges, from one country to another, from different cultures and whatnot. And I think joining forces globally with others that have a similar mindset and similar goals will be beneficial for everyone. And coming from a background of being, from the corporate world and working with investors and so forth, I think, I keep reminding people that women are the untapped talent. And if we want to promote innovation, if we want to be competitive, I keep hearing that Germany and the EU wants to be more competitive with China, for example. Well, women are the untapped talent. They bring in a different perspective. They can bring a lot of interesting ideas to the table, as we've witnessed firsthand with the Accelerate program that I just mentioned. The wonderful ideas that women had in solving problems that related to the sustainable development goals and whatnot. So why not help them, promote them, support them, and empower them to do better and meet their goals and so forth. And I think it's quite becoming to read this quote from Melinda, as I started with Melinda and I'm ending it with it. Fighting for gender equality is something I'm passionate about and dedicated to. I'm committed as ever to tearing down the barriers that keep women from living up to their potential. The unfinished business of empowering women is urgent work that we can only complete together. So let's keep going. And our motto is together stronger. So, and I hope that with our programs and learning from associations such as the DKG, which has many years of experience in promoting these intercultural exchanges between the two countries, they have witnessed firsthand the benefits of it, and we hope to learn from that experience and try to follow their footsteps. Thank you so much. And maybe it's time to take some questions.
Thank you very, very much, Sheila, for this highly interesting speech and presentation. It really is a pleasure and an honor to have you here today. So really, thank you. At the same time, I would ask Thomas Kuch from the DKG here in Munich to take questions and moderate the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Georg.
So, thank you. You see, we are very cautious regarding the mask and keeping the distance, but that's just the opposite we should normally have now to network, to get together. And just to introduce myself a bit, so I'm a DKG member for many years and part of a German-Canadian family, but I worked for more than 30 years for the German Aerospace Center, the DLR, and for us, intercultural management, working together is of crucial importance. So we were really open to hear what you were saying. So when I say here, I know about an organization, your sister organization, Women in Aerospace, which is also promoting more women being active, becoming active in the space of in the field of aerospace. And you see here with AI and robotics or other areas, it's more and more important that we get you on board. So it sounds a bit strange for a male to tell this, but on the other hand, I can also say, especially in aerospace, it's really a nice initiative for many years. We have diversity not only to get women on board, but more women on board, but also people from different countries, different cultures, young and old ones, to have the full range of opinions and experiences. So I think this is really important. And I was just checking whether we have some online questions. So far, we have not, but probably I'll start with this one. Do you have contact with other sister organizations who have a similar objective to bring some groups more into the game? Yes. Do you have this?
Yes, we do. That's part of our mission to join forces with other sister organizations. There are Women in Tech, Women in Data, Women in Data Science, many other sister organizations in Germany and globally. And I think, it is actually really critical for us to join forces, as I think that we can do more than if we work in silo. And also, it's one of the SDG goals, number 17, is to bring everyone together and to align. And if we align our purpose and our mission together, then we can be more impactful. So certainly, yeah.
I think that it's not the quota or the number that needs to be raised. It's more to bring more diversity on board, and that's, I think, definitely the chance for you also in the technical fields. I remember when I studied electronics 35 years ago, there were very few women in our classroom at university. In the meantime, in my team, I'm managing the space operations at DLR. We have almost 1/3 of our people are female. So, and they are bringing a lot of motivation and new insight into what we are supposed to do, especially when you work as a team. And this is, I think, something you will work on also with your organization.
Yes, definitely. And actually, I think DLR is doing, I have to say this, and not just because you're present, but I just, recently they hired 2 new board members who are women, and they are setting an example. So it's good to see this at this level, that, to get more women in leadership positions and have more role models for, organizations like ours or other female organizations who are trying to support women. It's really great to see these role models and these examples that are being set.
And you're right, probably you mentioned that governments have probably a bit better situation in that respect, because they can empower more rules or more motivation in going to this direction. I had the chance 20 years ago to work for half a year at Canadian Space Agency, and this is definitely a similar situation, that there are more and more women taking over responsible positions, and it's glad to see, and that's why it's so important. We mentioned today only Germany and Canada, but so in my area, it's really a worldwide enterprise, and other countries, some slower, some faster, join this. And you mentioned the Bill and Melinda Gates, or Melinda and Bill Gates, that they are role models for many people to motivate some ideas, and yeah, probably we're going in that direction if we have more initiatives and more people like you who promote this.
Yeah, exactly. And one other thing I need to say is that what I have experienced in this very short period of time is that I've seen a lot of support and coming from not just women but also men, like yourself, like Georg and many others who have and I think this is really important. I see some of the women organizations where they want to keep it purely as women and so forth, but I think we must join forces with everyone and be, seek men's alliance in order to make the changes happen faster, because everybody needs to understand the criticality of the problem and help and support the solution.
Okay, so I'm happy to see now some questions from online here in the chat. Excuse me that I start with this one first. We have one question from Hannes Weiland. Assuming more women in AI, perhaps in the future arriving in a situation of gender parity, do you see that gender will somehow reflected in programming code? I don't know what programming reflected in programming code means.
I'm not quite sure what that means either, but I think that having perspective of others, like the examples that we gave, I was giving earlier, it doesn't relate to programming, but we were talking about like how the cities are designed. If the people who are working on these things are, it may not have occurred to them. So if you have women who are programming and building these solutions in AI, and they realize, oh, you know what? Well, women have different hairstyles and hair texture, so maybe you should consider the curly hair when you're, doing the face recognition and whatnot, and maybe you should also consider different colors of the hair and so on. So perhaps if a woman is present, then these, things will be taken into the consideration and it will be included in the solution. So.
Okay, thank you. And there's a question from Benito Marcos. A question, I think he is commenting on what you presented, a question: which challenges should break companies to integrate more women into teams? So more or less what I said as well. It's not just promoting women because they are women, but to have a team together and take advantage of, whatever personality can take in.
Yeah, I think exactly. Yep.
Okay, so then I see one question here. I can repeat it then.
So that later on you do have a variety of candidates who can become more valuable.
So there was a question or comment of an initiative of two Munich universities. Sheila, can you follow on this question, please?
Yeah, I think this is a very good point, and that's why, earlier I was talking about toys, for example, that are geared towards, girls and boys. Well, I like to play with Lego. My kids, both the girl and the boy like to play with Lego and do, make an airplane or a ship or, things like that. So and you're perfectly right. These motivations need to happen at an early age when the kids are young. And interestingly enough, research has shown that the girls become demotivated at that very young age of 6, 7 years old. And we need to kind of figure out why that is and remove our own unconscious bias to help them and gear them towards these kind of technical fields. And also, this is a discussion that Thomas and I had just right before the event started, that I would be very happy to see that someday computer science becomes part of the curriculum in schools and not an after-school activity. We have seen examples of Estonia, for example, that has integrated computer science into their curriculum, and they are good at innovation and they are digitally literate and so on. And I don't know where they stand in terms of equality, but I do realize that the opportunity is there for those who wish to take it. So we definitely do need to start at a young age and hopefully from schools. But it's a lot of effort, and there are not enough people pushing for that to happen in the schools. So.
And I'm glad that you mentioned two Munich universities. I know from North America they have an initiative they call STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. That's very popular there, and every time astronauts are working with students or meeting students, young people, they try to encourage them to go in these areas. Doesn't matter whether they are young boys or young girls. In Germany, for instance, you might know it's MINT, Mathematik, Informatik, Naturwissenschaft und Technik. It's going to the same direction, and I think in Germany we're still a bit behind what it's going on already in North America for quite some years. Okay, so let me see. No, there's a comment. Thank you for the great presentation, Sheila. How do you envision a German-Canadian collaboration to promote more women in aerospace and robotics?
I think there are many opportunities for us to collaborate. We were very fortunate, for example, for our opening ceremony of our launch of our association. We engaged with the CSA, thanks to Thomas for his recommendation and whatnot, and we had someone present from the Canadian Space Agency, and I'm hoping to work more with other Canadian organizations as well to promote this inter-country exchanges. I think the more that we see role models from each country. And also we can engage them in mentoring opportunities, educational opportunities, and even with the Startup Accelerator program, there are lots of opportunities where we can promote one another, and this is the good thing that has happened because of the pandemic. Is like we're now all, online. All of our events and collaborations happen, online. So not being physically close to each other is no longer a very critical issue, and collaborations can happen remotely. So I'm hoping to see more collaborations in the future, and we're working towards that.
Okay, are there other questions here from the audience? If not, then I'd like to thank you once again. I have to tell you one thing I found out in preparing this Q&A session. So we have, with respect to artificial intelligence, 3 very famous female persons. I call them persons. Siri, Alexa, and Cortana. They're all female. So these artificial intelligence systems from Apple and Amazon and from Microsoft. So with this, I'd like to thank you. And I think we made it. So thanks again to the amerikahaus for organizing it and broadcasting our stream. And yeah, so we'll have the social part of it. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Like to see you somewhere, someplace. Thank you.
Thank you.